are live. Welcome back. This is episode number 35 of Calibrated with Scott. I'm Scott, of course. If you guys wouldn't mind just taking a second, going and clicking that like button, subscribing, and sharing this if you enjoy it and you think people in your group would like to hear about it. I mean, it's the easiest way you can support me, just getting the word out. I really appreciate all of you guys for following and listening. It is just fun for me to do. I just want to take some time to really thank you guys. I appreciate you. Appreciate you for commenting on my Telegram, not even the things that help me with an algorithm or something. I just enjoy talking to a lot of you. And yeah, so thanks for listening. But let's just get right into it. We got a lot to talk about. I think the thing that everybody wants to talk about, the primary topic, is the Patriot. Oh, the mighty Patriot. In Kiev, the Ukrainians had positioned a Patriot battery to defend an airport, and the Russians got some intel about this. They launched a large-scale missile strike, and they employed the Kinzhal hypersonic cruise missile, launched from the MiG-31. That's important because of the claims that were made about this attack. And depending on who you listen to and who you believe, either a Patriot battery was hit, parts of it, or Ukrainian air defense intercepted 6 hypersonic Kinzhal missiles that were intended to take out this Patriot, but actually did not really do any damage. I don't believe that version. That version is hysterical to me for multiple reasons, and I'll dive into that. I believe that 1 to 2, possibly, depending on how close they were positioned, units of this Patriot battery were reduced, destroyed. I'm thinking probably a radar and probably one of the launchers. Just because that's what I figured they would target. The radar and command and control node that the Patriot runs off of is much more valuable than the launchers. It can be replaced, but it is probably the most crucial part, and it can disable the whole battery for a while if that does occur. We don't know what happened, so we can only go off of hypotheticals and guesswork based on very limited analysis. We have geolocations, we have some videos. I'm going to put up the videos during this while I'm talking and explaining them. One of the first videos is the Patriot battery in Kiev, and somebody filmed this, so we were lucky enough to see it. And in this video, you can see the Patriot battery just wildly launching into the air. It starts, the video is about 2 minutes and 27 seconds. You can see this thing just shooting. It's just shooting. Way faster than I would think the missile system should be shooting. It's firing off missiles every couple seconds. In total, 32 missiles were fired, which is around $150 million US. So a lot of damage was done. Damage, in quote, money damage was done just from the defense doing what it's supposed to do. I mean, the US has, I think 2,000 PAC-3 air defense missiles for their Patriot systems. 1,000 in service, like in tubes basically right now, and 1,000 in storage ready to go. And Ukraine just blew through 32 in about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So you can see how at the current rate of expenditure, Ukraine can't keep this up. But anyway, at the end of this video, it kind of cuts to a later shot about 6 minutes later, and you just see a very bright flash on the screen. They didn't turn off this live cam, so this is live camera footage that people can just watch on the internet. But they didn't turn it off, And you can see after the battery, discharges completely, uh, then a Kinjal comes in and hits. So that's the first video. The next video is of the actual site, much closer. You see a Gepard firing in the distance, and then a few seconds later, bam, Kinjal hits. Now that looks like it hits the Patriot battery, whether it's a radar station or whatever it is. And then a couple seconds later, boom, second explosion, and you can see the mushroom cloud from the first one. But it's pretty damning that all the Kinjals weren't shot down. It looks like two of them at least hit their targets, which is a big deal. And then there's one final video, and this one's going to have some noise, so I'm going to quiet down for this part.
What was it?
That's where the anti-aircraft was shooting at.
And in this video, you basically hear an American voice over the over the recording say that that was the AD air defense system over there that got hit, basically, is what he says. So that's pretty good evidence that at least something was hit. People are going to claim whatever they're going to claim. We don't have any proof. Satellite images of Kiev didn't update, which of course they didn't, because it would have shown what actually happened. People tried to pass off fake satellite photos from the 15th as photos from the 17th, which doesn't pan out. So what I think happened is multiple units of this were hit. It's very embarrassing. They lied. They claimed, exponential success, which is always a red flag. And then, they just, they're just trying to sweep it under the rug. They arrested 6 people for filming the location of the air defense, which was not how the Russians figured it out. The Russians have A-50s, reconnaissance aircraft, and drones, and they're watching everything when these missiles are fired off. They know exactly where they're fired from. They can detect them, and then they can strike it. So I think a Patriot got destroyed, some aspect of a Patriot battery. I think this is more symbolic than actually meaningful on the battlefield. I mean, yes, it could take out a advanced air defense system that is in protecting Kiev, but more importantly, this feels like a response to depleted uranium ammunition and to Shadow Storm missiles and the strike on the Kremlin. This feels like Putin standing up now and really slapping the West in the face. This is the system that defends U.S. troops. This is the system that the U.S. exports to its allies. This is the system that the U.S. exports to its proxies. So that was just defeated by the Russians. The Russians basically just said, your air defense, we can beat it anywhere, anytime. Let's go. That's a really big deal. That is a major deal. The U.S. knows it. Russia knows it. The whole world knows it. And this is a major escalation point where if the U.S. doesn't get scared and back down right now, we could be looking at the next step in this conflict between the United States and Russia. And I don't mean direct conflict. I just mean the next escalatory step, because Russia just responded. That's how it feels. They extended the grain deal for 60 days, which I honestly don't know what they're getting out of that, but I feel like diplomatically they have to be getting something out of it. And the way that they respond is not by, taking food away from poorer countries. It's not by bombing, symbolic objectives in the city, the SBU building, whatever decision-making centers. It wasn't that. It wasn't that kind of escalation. It was free game. It was a very, very, very realistic target that the U.S. donated. So it's not protected, but it's meaningful, right? They hit it. They compromised it. They used their best weapon to do it. And it worked. And that's that. If they decided to launch 20 Kinzhals, the whole battery's gone. That's the important aspect is we just made you look like Swiss cheese. We exposed your armor, and we have the air defenses to stop all of your missiles, but you don't have the air defenses to stop ours. And that's not saying that the Russians can stop all of them, the US's missiles, but that is what that's saying. And that is like I said, this is an escalation point. The US might respond and we could be in an arms race very soon, another arms race. We are on that precipice right now. Now, when it comes to the actual, facts about this attack, fact number one is that this Patriot is out of place. This is not a representation of the Patriot's performance. This is not a representation of the Patriot being properly implemented. And this is not the Patriot in anywhere near the best or right conditions for it. We saw the Patriot fail in Saudi Arabia to protect the oil fields through drone saturation, which they weren't taking out the missiles; they were just overloading the radar, and the Patriot did not succeed in defending the oil field. Which air defense is not some immaculate protection system that defends you indefinitely. No, it's a very complex and flawed system that has holes in it, and those can be exposed. And we've seen it. Russia has the best air defense in the world, and theirs can look, terrible at sometimes. Sometimes it looks really good and does its job perfectly. So this Patriot was not with probably the best trained crew. I was having a discussion in a space, and I said that probably the situation is you have 25% of the crew as advisors, mercenaries, whatever you want to call them, from the West that knows how to operate a Patriot. And then 75% of it is Ukrainians. And they're doing this to make sure that they get experienced, trained crews on the Patriot. So if they donate another one, these guys can go and be basically the advisors. They move into that 25% role, and then they start training 70% green or 75% green guys to operate the Patriot. That's how I would do it. I don't know if that's how they're doing it. That just makes sense to me. But they could be all advisors, or they might just be all Ukrainians. Who knows? But the Patriot was not spaced properly in the amount of area that it was in. I talked to a guy who actually worked with Patriots, and he said that the area was far too small and that the batteries were probably too close. And we've seen pictures of this in Saudi Arabia too, where they have basically all three of the important vehicles very close together, just because space constraints, not thinking about it, not being, trained properly to think about this. I don't know if that was the case. Also, there's a lot of high-rise buildings where this thing was placed, so it was defending the airport probably most definitely, and it just it was just not the proper spacing. These things can be kilometers apart and operate fine, but they weren't. They were very close. So that's number one. Number two is that the Patriot is a system. Remember, this is not it's an air defense system. It's just not an air defense system. It's not a singular system. It's a system, like a whole unit. And that involves THAAD, that involves Aegis or CIWS, that involves, multiple different layered defense networks that operate hand in hand to succeed in defending an area. It's if you think about like a Venn diagram and how a Venn diagram overlaps, and that middle part contains a lot more from both sides, right? So that's the protection sphere. That's what you want. And you want multiple spheres. So if you think about 5 big spheres overlapping in a circle, and in that center is what you want protected, right? So you have 5 of these circles. And then around that, or inside of that, you have multiple smaller circles, which are point defenses like Pantsir, Tor, medium range would be a little bit bigger circles. You have Buk, you have like Patriot, THAAD, that, they have a system. Those are Russian and US systems. So I know I just threw a lot of air defense systems out, but they're a part of a unit that defends each other: long, medium, short range, and point defense systems. And the Patriot didn't have this. It has a Gepard, which is not its point defense system, right? It has spotty coverage at best. I mean, there's not 5 Patriot batteries. It was 1 Patriot battery trying to defend. So, like, coming back to the non-operable conditions, that's are not, not highly operable conditions. That's what we're talking about again, is that these Patriots just did not have the proper support. And then, crew training times. You probably have inexperienced crews. The rate that these things were firing off in that video that you saw suggests to me that the crew either panicked because it's a life or death situation. Any hypersonics that are being launched are either coming for you or what you're protecting. So that's a high intensity situation. You can't really train for that. Even the American crews haven't trained for that. That's a completely new stimuli that's being introduced. And they launched every single missile. And there is I think there's a theory where it's like, launch all the missiles so that if a battery gets hit, the collateral isn't as bad. But Ukraine cannot afford to fire missiles in this manner. It can't. It does not have those resources. And maybe it thought use them or lose them, basically. And they used them, and they still ended up losing them. So, or at least that's what I think. So that's pretty much coverage on the Patriot incident. There were PAC-3 missile cartridges, like, the leftovers, the fuselages, all over the place. There was shrapnel everywhere. They fired 32 of these things all over the place, and they exploded. They rained down. They fell down. It was madness. And it just really speaks to the whole, AD being able to be the cause of some of these apartment strikes and so on. And just to speak on the strikes, we have seen basically a week of high intensity and very critical strikes. We had the Patriot strike. We had the Klemensky strike. I can never say it. Which was the ammunition depot that potentially had DU ammunition. I don't know if it did, but that's, a rumor. And then we had a Nikolaev strike last night, which hit another huge ammunition depot. We had strikes tonight, right now, as I speak, all over the place. We're not getting any pictures. 6 people got arrested in Kiev for taking pictures of the air defense system that was launching. So the video that you saw, I think somebody was arrested for. So there were more explosions. They've been targeting ammunition depots, it seems. And yeah, it's just the tempo of Russian missile strikes has increased significantly, and Ukrainian air defense is looking weaker than ever. It seems very desperate. They're talking about sending F-16s, but the 5 coalition countries, Britain, Denmark, or something like that. It's like 5 Anglo countries. I don't think Germany is involved, but they're trying to get F-16s to Poland or to Ukraine. Poland's next. They're trying to get F-16s to Ukraine, and they're basically saying, yeah, we'll train all the pilots that we can, but we can't actually donate. So we need somebody to donate all these F-16s, but we'll train the pilots. It's just, it's goofy. It's goofy world that they're living in. I don't quite understand it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it is what it is. Life's going to go on. Let me think. Is there anything else that I wanted to touch on in this little short sit rep? I think that's it, guys. I'm just doing this one real quick, so I have something to post. I got a couple big podcasts coming up this weekend that I'm going to do, so stick around for those. Just like and subscribe, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This was kind of the Patriot episode. I wanted to come on and specifically talk about that, so we got that out of the way. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on episode number 36. Bye.